we go. There we go. Hey, Judy.
Merry Christmas, Lisa.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
So
you.
I am recording this outdoors.
I'm noticing the stone wall behind you, and I'm thinking, what?
I am in my front yard without a coat. It is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I
It's
walked the dogs
probably
today.
colder in here than it is out there.
It is so bloody hot inside my house. It's 73 degrees. And it's like, ugh. I mean, that's hot. That's
Well, it
downright
is.
hot.
I've got my heat set at 67 and it's 71 inside. In December,
Yeah.
December 25th.
It's crazy. So Judy, last week we talked about kind of retooling, refiguring, reconcepting our podcast.
We did.
And when we got together with the other Sidetracked sisters, we brought that up to them and they were like, "Oh, what a great
Thank
idea."
goodness. Yeah,
Thank
they
goodness.
liked it.
Yes. We talked about being people to give advice to writers specifically this past year. And you and I like got off on it. I mean, this was like our jam. We
Right.
love, talking all things writing, and that's awesome for us. But really, Michelle and Sandy were like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll support you guys. This really isn't our jam. This isn't
Yeah.
our gig. And so I said, where are we going to go from here? I'm feeling, a little bit, I don't want to say bored, but a little bit confined.
I
And
would agree with
so
that.
we had talked about recalibrating our podcast to be more like stories of success, things to bring you to success. But we want to keep that sidetracked in because you and I have so many interests. Well, we all four of us have so many interests and so many things that we like to do. And many years ago, there was a wonderful speaker and they were giving advice, I think as a TED Talk. And they were talking about finding your passion and pursuing your passion and really being focused on that thing in your life that you've been called to do. And
Lots of luck.
after the talk, a woman came up to her in tears and basically said, I'm sad I came. This did not work for me at all. She said, basically, you have told me once again that I'm a failure. And I have read all the books, I've done all the exercises, and I still don't know what my one passion is. And you didn't help me at all. And this speaker went back to their hotel room and was like, she's right. This is not one size fits all.
Correct.
The thing that I've been talking and preaching about isn't the case for everyone. There are so many people like this beautiful woman that the story was longer than I'm sharing, of course. And she said she said that, I'm a sledgehammer. I just keep pounding it away at that one thing. And you've heard the quote, you can do anything in life, you just can't do everything.
Oh, yes.
And she realized that, yes, a sledgehammer will get the job done, but not everybody is a sledgehammer. She went on to say that there are people in the world that are much more like hummingbirds, that they kind of flit from here to there, and they're interested in gardening, they're interested in teaching, they're interested in running, they're interested in entrepreneurial business, they're interested in finance. They're interested in
They're
all these
all
different
over the
things,
place, right?
creating artwork and going to musicals. Just there's so many things that they're interested in. And the beauty of these people is that they make connections. They have this different view of the world than the sledgehammer does.
That's
And
right.
we all talked about how that really is what we are feeling and talking about when we describe ourselves as being sidetracked. We
Right,
all
exactly.
have a wide variety of interests and thoughts and opinions about the world, our place in it, and what we choose to do with our time on this planet. And so we were like, even stories of success or sidetracked successes felt limiting, to use my word from before. And so the new phrase we came up with was simply
Sidetracked stories.
Yeah,
Yep,
because
I
we're
like
telling
it.
stories of our experiences and our interests and our thoughts. And we continue to do that in this upcoming year. And we are going to continue to interview people. But once again, we're going to broaden that out to people who have stories that we're interested in and people that we're
Which
interested
could
in.
be anything and everything.
Exactly.
And what's so interesting is the other two Sidetracked sisters say, well, I'll participate in that. So you
Yeah.
might get to see those two beautiful faces
More
frequently
often.
as well. So
Yeah.
that I think that just rocks. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So that really, I thought, would be rejuvenating for the podcast. And so we've got to get the word out there to people who haven't listened to us in a while, because our listenership has gone up, and then it goes down, and then it goes up, and then it goes, it's been up and down, and we're trying to find a sweet spot where it keeps going up and up and up.
You know what?
And
I don't think sidetracked people like us ever find one sweet spot. And I think that's what we're
oh no.
experiencing. And I don't think we have to apologize for it. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think we have the desire to talk with the world,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
we have the interest to talk about a myriad of subjects.
exactly.
And we're not saying we're an expert in every subject, but we love to explore those subjects. And,
Yes.
you know, if there is one wish I could make on a star, it's that I would love for our listeners to share what they think about those subjects too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just craving comments. I'm just craving some, you know,
Communication, some
yeah,
community. Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you and I kind of know what we think for the most part. Not always, but for the
Right.
most part. But oh, it would be so nice to hear. I mean, are we that odd? I don't think so. No,
No, I don't think so at all. No.
no.
So, with that being said, we kind of have been talking about what we want to get into in this next season, season 3 of our podcast. We're
Mm-hmm,
not taking a break. We're just changing the name. So, next week is January 1st,
mm-hmm,
and we are going to be changing to Sidetrack Stories. Same chat, same bat time, same bat channel.
mm-hmm,
Um, and what we want to do is kind of organize our podcast this next season around some of our current interests, right?
mm-hmm,
And some of our current interests are based in things that we've read and done and been interested in the past, but are going to help us move forward into the future.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I told you the story, Judy, in the past about where I'm basing this from. So
mm-hmm,
in the past, I was a teacher. I was a teacher for 30 years.
mm-hmm,
And during much of that experience, I looped with my kids. I looped with my students. I taught first grade one year, and the next year I taught the same kids second grade.
mm-hmm,
And then I'd go back to first grade, second
mm-hmm.
grade, and a new kid. So I kept the kids for 2 years. And so there were like 4 or 5 of us on the team that would keep the kids together. And then there was another team of teachers that were just opposite of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looping with the kids, I would, before I taught first grade, then that summer before I taught first grade, I would read a book called And with a Light Touch.
Mm-hmm.
And I would highlight parts in that book, and I would make sticky notes, and then I would take those sticky notes and I'd stick them to my chair and the wall and my desk and to by the smart board, and places where, high enough where, first graders weren't necessarily focused on them, but they were for me.
So not
Phrases
on
and
your forehead, right?
not on my forehead. And then before I taught second grade, I did the same thing with a book called On Their Way. And then we stopped looping several years ago. And I didn't read those 2 books anymore because they weren't, you know, relevant to a looping experience. And subsequently, several years later, I went back and I looked at those books.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like blown away because
Why?
I could have written those books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were so much a part of who I was as a teacher, what I said, how I thought, how I reacted in different situations. That I was like, damn, I could have written this book. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
now. And I thought that is really the secret of really implementing change in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't just reading something, putting it down, but After, I mean, and it wasn't hundreds of sticky notes. It was just a few phrases, a few
Real
highlights,
key
a few,
ones, yeah.
few key points. And so you and I sat down and we were thinking and talking about some of the books that have really influenced us over the past few years.
Mhm.
And we would like to highlight those in that this next year and talk about how they've how they affected us in the past and how we
Mhm.
really want to use them for positive change going forward, if we haven't already.
I think part of it is in a small town like ours, it's not really common to necessarily have a mentor, but I feel that I have been mentored by the books I've read.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because I see them and read them and talk about them with other people, they become part of
Who you are.
who we are, and I think that's just a fabulous idea. And we're not saying you have to go out and read every one of these books, but we do have some jewels of wisdom that have come from each of them
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
we retain and that help us to
Yeah.
retain a better way of thinking, a better way of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
living, a better way of giving, all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't want to say the names of them now because we'll be going over them in the future. But really, I kind of feel like I'm on a cusp here. I just turned 59 this past week.
Ooh.
And when I turned 50, I decided that I was going to run a marathon.
Mhm.
And I ran that marathon because I wanted to prove to myself I could do something
Mhm.
that I put my mind to. And
Uh-huh.
when I researched running a marathon, I discovered that only 0.01% of the world's population has ever committed to and completed a marathon. So I
Wow.
thought if I did that, that would really show me that I could do anything.
Mhm.
And now it's coming to the end of the decade for me. And I look back on it and it isn't what I thought it would be.
Mhm.
I've had some major, um, I don't know whether to call them stumbling blocks or major human experiences
Mhm.
that really have I sent me back. They've complicated things.
It slowed you down.
Yeah. I
I
mean, they've
call them
been
speed bumps.
speed bumps. They've been part of my experience that were not anticipated.
Mhm.
And so, in the analogy of caterpillar becoming a butterfly,
Mhm.
I look at my years of being a teacher.
Mhm.
I always said that when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Mhm.
And I knew I needed to get in and get out. I knew I needed to get my degree under my belt and move on. But I
Mhm.
thought, I'm not going to be a teacher forever. And after 4 years of teaching, I did jump ship. I jumped ship and I was involved in our family business for 2 years.
Mhm.
And then I decided that I really loved writing. And I got my master's degree in English. And then I went back to teaching again. And
Mhm.
I taught for another 25 years. And then right before COVID hit, I retired because I could. And then it's been like 3 years of kind of exploration since then and kind of dipping my toe here. And I became a life coach and I got a job in retail. And now I'm a team lead. And, it's been a very circuitous route over the past couple of years.
Mhm.
And I feel like this year is going to be exceptional. It is going to be mind blowing.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a caterpillar becomes goo inside of the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly.
I
I've had
never knew that until you said it.
a pretty gooey decade here, but it's I
Don't feel like the Lone Ranger, Lisa.
um so I'm feeling like this I'm preparing to butterfly myself, and that's really exciting.
It is
But not
exciting.
a lot needs to be accomplished this coming year in order for that to happen. And so you and I have talked. I am such a goal orientated person.
Mm-hmm.
And there's at least one of these books which is very goal orientated. And I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like I think there's one book that's not on our list. It's If You Don't Know Where You're Going, You're Probably going to end up there, or you're probably going to end up
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else. I'm in coaching somebody just a few days ago. I was talking to them about how I seem that they've over the past several years have just really been, you know, flexible and open to wherever the world takes them. And sometimes, if you really want something, you need to focus on that and you need to make some decisions to go in the direction you want instead of just
Mm-hmm.
letting life take you wherever it wants to go. I think people often will go either in one extreme or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to kind of take my life by the horns and
Mm-hmm.
say, let's go this direction. And not that I have, I'm going to make a 90 or 180-degree shift in course. Just tweaking a few areas I think will be very beneficial.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. It's something that I often say to myself, hey, you're the captain of your ship. Don't let somebody pull you off course. And I am pulled off course as easy as I sneeze. It's just one of those things that happens. And I allow it to happen instead of standing up and saying, no, I understand that you enjoy being a very spur of the moment person and you don't plan and you like to do things this way and that way. I have other thoughts in mind and I need to follow my way of doing things in
Mhm,
order to
mhm.
accomplish what I want to do. And, doggone it, I'm running out of time. My average lifespan in this country is 76 years. That means I've got 2 years to do everything I need to do. Ain't happening. So I got to get my act together.
Well, one thing that I think the two of us do have in spades that is something that people don't necessarily have is we do have dreams and goals and we have a vision of where we want to go. There
Hmm.
is another kind of person that I want to talk to in this podcast, and that is that person who's kind of, is the word maybe apathetic, or
Hmm.
it's like, well, what happens if I really don't? You know, I just want to be happy. I just want to be safe and comfortable and chill.
And sometimes I think those people maybe haven't found themselves yet. And maybe they're telling a story. Maybe they just feel like they feel safe having someone else tell them where to go and what to do. But, that old phrase you hear all the time, people plan more for their annual vacation than they do for their life. And I think that's really right there.
Mhm.
I don't think I'm getting us off track, but if you truly are happy and you don't have goals or don't want to do anything more, you feel that you've really accomplished what you were put here to accomplish, well, that's awesome. That's not a problem. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us about it.
And I guess I wonder if somebody, I know I can't. I know I can't be truly happy unless I'm communicating, unless I'm creating, unless I'm contributing. That is what gives me true joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe that's who I'm mostly going to be speaking to, people who recognize that in themselves too and want a partner in crime to go on that journey with.
Did you hear Quincy? She said that was a good idea.
She
Quiet
supports me in
Quincy.
that.
Hmm. Well, I think that we're going in a good direction. I'm looking
Yes.
forward to 2024. I think it's going to be refreshing.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it's going to be entertaining or if it's going to be informative or if it's going to be um,
Inspiring.
inspiring. But I guess I would say, is it going to be any of those things or
I
all of
hope
those
so.
things? And I would say yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's our goal. And we want to bring you along on the journey. So tune in as we continue to tweak this podcast and
Can
move it
I
in the
come?
direction. Yes, you can. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So with that, let's wrap it up. And next week, we'll start on that journey together with
Fantastic.
Sidetracked Stories.
Sidetracked Stories. Here we come. Hold on to your
Awesome.
hat.
Okay.
Thank
Love
you,
you, Judy.
Lisa. Have a
Talk to you
great
later.
holiday. Okay. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.